Hello everyone. Okay, we're just going to kind of get things configured here while I wait for people to come in. Let's see. And maybe a little bit back the other way. Okay. Okay, I was going to have Christmas music on and I found out I couldn't because they would shut off my video. Just a second, I'm going to go shut my door. Okay, I'm back. Hi everyone. Can you hear the volume okay? Let's say hi so I can see who's here. Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Tonight, we're going to be making a beach tumbler, as I promised, so I'm excited about that. What I'm going to do, I've got, let's see, some pictures already printed out. So once I get done with the tumbler, then the turtle and the baby turtles, these are loggerhead turtles, will go on the cup. So I'm excited about that. All right. Hi, Randy. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Megan. Thanks for joining. Hi, Pamela. Okay, so it's just showing the image that I'm going to put on the cup once it's done. So that's exciting. Oh, first timer. Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Oh, first timer too, Pamela. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And Randy, same as you. Well, welcome. I have my setup a little bit differently, so I'm sorry if I'm turning my head, but I'm trying to look at the monitor to see your chats. I really wish this was more of a Skype kind of thing where we could hear each other's voices and make things a lot easier during a live. And I was going to have some Christmas music playing because I'm kind of trying to be in the festive spirit, but I found out they'll shut down the video if I have licensed music playing, so sorry about that. Okay. All right, so I want to show you guys what I made. I was kind of experimenting last week, so I was a little bit happy to see how this turned out, actually, because sometimes your experiments can completely flop. So what I did was I glittered the cup first with just a white basic glitter, nothing real fancy, and used epoxy to glitter it. So I put my layer of epoxy on the cup and then just glittered it with the white, so as exciting as painting a wall. And then I came back after it was dry, and I used alcohol inks, and I dripped. So here's the main cup. Here's how it looks now. So I used alcohol inks, and I dripped them from here, and then just kind of blew them down the line with that canned air, okay, and kind of made it look like they were in the background. Then I put another layer of epoxy on and put my images on. So I'm trying to make it look kind of like a underwater ocean with the kelp and stuff coming up around it. The shine in there. So it still needs to have another layer of epoxy because I added the images, and those are the water slides. So is everybody familiar with the water sliding technique? Oh, is that all I need to do, Pamela? Is just state that and then they won't shut me down? Well, then heck, I'll do that next time. Okay, so this is water slides. The images that I printed out are on a water slide. What this means is it's a paper that they made, and in my case, I use it on my inkjet printer. They do make some for laser printers. If you have a laser printer, the only step you don't have to take would be that you print it, and you don't need to seal it. if you have an inkjet printer like I do, that ink is laying on top of the paper, which means after the print is done, you need to get a clear spray paint and just seal it. So I do a couple of coats of that because it's water slide paper. So what happens is after your die cut machine like Cricut or Silhouette cuts out the images, then you cut around that little box and then you dip it into water for a few seconds. And it makes the image slide off of the backing of the paper, which then you can slide it onto your cup. So it's a very thin layer that ends up on your cup, which is the nice thing about water slides. Instead of having like a vinyl, you've done some vinyl probably, and that vinyl is a lot more thicker than the water slide ends up being. So that's the benefit of doing a water slide versus the vinyl stickers. Okay, any questions on that one before I get started with the colors? Come on, y'all, chat it up for me. Okay, what I'm using in my colors for my tumbler is going to be, because it's beach, and I'm hoping what I try to do is on the top part of my cup. I'm going to move the video down a little bit because you don't need to see my face when I'm talking so much. I'd like for you to see the cup. Okay, so what I try to do is on this section of the cup, I try to keep it with the ocean color, right? The blue, I go from the heavy, because when you look out at the ocean, you've got your deeper part of the ocean, so it's typically a little darker, and then it comes into the little greens, you know, the teals, the greens, and it kind of gets a lot lighter, light blue almost, right before it hits the shore, because it's shallower typically, if it's a sunny day. So that's the goal that I'm going to try for tonight, and at the very base of this, I'm going to do the sand. So the colors I'm choosing are, the colors that I'm choosing are made by different manufacturers. So this one is Just Resin. Okay, Just Resin is out of Australia right now. They're working to, I understand, to have a distributor here in the US, if you're from the US area. But I love them. I'm telling you, they have some of the nicest colors. Now, if you work with the resins and the epoxies of nature, this color grouping is great. It's already mixed with part A of your resin. Okay, so it's a paste. It's a resin paste. So, or pigment paste. So what that means is they mix easier, for one, and they'll last longer. They're actually, let me show you inside. They're very rich in the colors. I'll show you the lid here. Okay, look at that. Okay. So these are very rich. They're very pretty. They mix you use, again, your ratio when mixing anything in with your resin should be 10% to the 90% resin. So 10% of your color to the 90% of your resin. This one, if you put in very little, it gets a little bit transparent. If you put more in, it gets more opaque. Okay, so that's kind of how you judge how much of the color you want to use. So anyway, in this one, it is Fantasy Blue, and I just got this. They had their Black Friday sale, so I just got that one. This one is the Blue Sapphire, so it's real, look at that pretty sapphire color. The next one here is Turquoise Luster. I love that. Let's see if I can get that colored. There you go. Okay, and the last one in that group is Turquoise Basic. So it's a lot darker. It's definitely a turquoise. It's got a deeper tone to it. All right, then the other colors I'm going to bring in, as I said, it gets really light when it gets up to the beach. So I'm going to use the acrylic paint, okay? And I love this color. This is ocean green, they call it, but it's the perfect color for me. And then for the little bit of the light blue, I'm bringing in this acrylic, which is the light blue. They actually named it that. Now for the sand, what I have found over time in my paintings and such for a good beach, if I'm not using real sand, is I put a little bit of this tan acrylic. So it's really a unbleached titanium. And then I mix in with it a little bit of the gold. This is a funny, it's a metallic, and it's the rose gold, but it ends up ironically kind of looking like regular sand, you know, all the different granulars of color and stuff out there. So that's the color choices I'm mixing right now. And what I'm going to do, this is real exciting, is just go ahead and get the resin mix. Now I use the Moss Resin Tabletop. They're out of St. Paul, Minnesota, And I'm telling you, customer service-wise, these people are great. They are so friendly, so helpful, and they respond very, very quickly to any questions I've had for them. I've used Resin. If you haven't met me before or joined any of my lives, I've been painting and with Resin probably for 5 years now. And I've gone through, oh man, I'd say probably 8 different companies, brands of resin. They all have something different to offer, and they all have something positive or negative about them, in my opinion, but that's me. That's how I work. This one, though, doesn't, I haven't had any allergic reactions to this one at all. Pro Marine can get pretty harsh on me. So I stuck with this one. I've been using it for now probably about 6 months now, and I've just really liked it. It doesn't have a lot of odor either. So I'm going to get this mixed up. I need a little bit more resin than I usually use on a tumbler because I'm mixing color. So I just want to use a bigger cup for now. Let's see, where am I at? Let's see. All right. Kind of hard to measure out smaller amounts. I've been using just my syringes for the 10 milliliters, that kind of thing. But like I said, I needed a little bit more than that this time around. Okay. There we go. All right, so let's get stirring that. What I'm going to do is mix the resin, and then I'm going to mix it into those colors I just showed you, and then we'll start putting it on the cup. So especially for the first timers, has everybody, at this point worked with resin? Is that a safe thing, I'm guessing here, or are some of you not yet getting into the resin? Scroll this down because it's not staying there. There we go. This one doesn't smell as much, Denise. That's one of the reasons I like it. It has a slight odor, of course, before you mix it in the part B, but it goes away really quickly. How do I make sure the paint doesn't go inside the cup past the rim? Okay, because the way I'm putting it on here, it doesn't go, the gravity doesn't take it and pull it in. It just kind of takes it and moves it, around the cup and this way on the turner. So I haven't had that problem, but if it does, you can scrape it off because it's got resin on it. You can use a little X-Acto knife and scrape it off if it dries. So it's not too bad. The other thing you could do if you're really, really worried about it is put some Vaseline on the inside of your cup when you're working with resin. Resin will not adhere to Vaseline. It'll peel right off like silicone. So that's a tip I use on my paintings. The Just Resin, that is their site. So if you go and I don't remember the exact name of their website, but I think it's Just Resin. So just Google Just Resin. Like I said, they're out of Australia, but when you go into their site, they ask you if you're from the US or from Australia, because it matters on the shipping. And they just did their Black Friday special, and we got a free one. So I bought one, I got a free one, and of course, because I was on there and I was already shipping it, I bought 4 more. So it's kind of an addiction. Yes, okay, so here's the funny caveat about FDA approval. So some labels have said, and I've worked with some of the resins that have specifically said, like aluminite, that it is FDA approved. What it's really telling you is once it's cured, in the cured hardened state, it's safe to have food around it. It's safe to have, but not to process food on it. In other words, like a cutting board, you don't want to cut into the resin because it's not going to be safe. It doesn't matter what brand it is. In that sense of the word, all the resins are the same, similar. I had and I can put it in our chat when this is done. I have an email response that was very well worded from the company owner of UMOS, or of Moss here, who stated that as well. And so they are compliant. They are not approved, and no resin company is approved. They are compliant, and there's a big difference there. Okay, so we've got a nice mixture there. All right, so I'm going to start mixing these into the colors. I'll tell you, I wish this little bar would stay at the bottom so I could see all your chats. Okay. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to the chat and to the live. Okay. Yes, the Vaseline works specifically for the resin. Okay, the epoxy resin. So what it is epoxy resin will not stick to silicone, plastic typically, but silicone especially, and in this case Vaseline. So on the bottom of my paintings, you know, on the edges, when the resin runs down the edge, it'll put those little teardrop it'll harden up with these little teardrops underneath it. And by putting resin or Vaseline along that, I come back the next day after it's hardened and I can just take my little X-Acto knife and pop them all right off. Or you can put tape under there with Vaseline on the tape even, and it comes off real easy. So it's a nice little trick I learned. A lot of people have done it, but it saves me a lot of time. But I really have not had any problem with this getting into the cup. On the lip, on the edge, and I just scrape it off with an X-Acto knife. Okay, so here's one color. I just put the resin in with it. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Look at this color. There we go. Okay, that is the Fantasy Blue. Okay. All right, this is the Blue Sapphire. And, you know, you just kind of approximate how much you want to mix of something, because typically what I've tried to look for is how much of the dark do I need, because the dark can take over. So I usually put in a lot less than what I just did on that first one, because I know I'm not going to use that much of it. But I am going to mix up some white as well, and I could probably lighten it up and use it. And this teal is pretty dark, so I'm not going to use a whole lot of that. But it's gorgeous. It's got that underlayment of that green. It is really, see how dark that is, but it's got just a hint of the blue-green in there. Whoop. Don't fall over. Okay. Alrighty, so that is those colors. And then I need to mix in a little bit of my blue paint. I want to get these mixed in because my hands are going to get really icky, so less gloves if I get it all mixed up right now. So bear with me. It's kind of like waiting to open your Christmas presents. It's like, pour the paint already. Well, hopefully everybody's done with their holiday shopping, I will say, because you could be Christmas, you could be Hanukkah. The cost of the resin, it depends when I buy it. In this case, I bought a gallon total, which is two, you know, the part A is half gallon and the part B is half gallon. When I'm doing bigger art projects, I'll buy a gallon at a time of each. But in this case, I think for the half gallon each, total of a gallon, I think it was $68 on Amazon. No, you don't have to stir it for the long time. Each resin gives you a little bit of their own instruction on how long. For the most part, you know, they want you to stir it. Well, I just got it in my hand. They want you to stir it, you know, and mix it into another cup and do all of that. And on my bigger projects, quite frankly, on my art pieces, I do that. But in this one, you can kind of tell when it's mixed in, and it's got quite a bit of bubbles. So those will come out on their own. Or you can torch it. You know, I typically give that a little heat once I get the color in there. Yeah, isn't that blue pretty? I know they are. I am a little color addicted. So I think that's why I got into painting and doing the resin work, because I just love color. I love it in fabrics, and I quilt too, but not as much as I've been doing this. Yeah, the acrylic, here's your acrylic. So I just put a very little tiny bit. I mean, you don't need a lot of acrylic paint in your resin. And again, you want to keep it down 10% or less in your resin, okay? Because it does not need a lot. And what'll happen if you put too much in is your resin will start to cure too fast. It'll get thick and it'll get gooey. You know you made a mistake when that starts to happen. And it'll get real hot real quick because it's curing too fast. I have done that. I think we all have our little boo-boos along the way. And this is a funny boo-boo, so you can tell I've done a lot of resin because I've resined my cap of my paint shut. Because again, I had dirty gloves and I had to go back and get some paint, and I got it all over my paint bottle. Okay, so this is all the paint you need. Get it on the tip here. That's all the paint I need in that little bit of resin I'm doing, okay? See? That's it. That will do it. That's the rose gold. Okay, and I've got my white to mix real quick, and then we're done with the colors. Yeah, resin is a part A and a part B. Okay, in the case of what I buy, it is a two-part mix. There are resins out there that are that can be different, but the resins I have used primarily have been a part A and a part B 1-to-1 ratio. Okay, so you evenly mix it 1-to-1. You need to be careful. You know, they'll tell you about that in the description. You need to be careful when you're buying resin that you're not buying casting resin for this kind of work. Casting resin is very different, and it dries white. It will not dry clear because again, it's meant to be in a mold. Casting resin is designed to be thick and poured on thick and cure thick, where resin like this cannot be. Typically, the instruction or the fact sheet you get with each brand will tell you how thick you can make your pours, or the thickest that it's safe to use to make the pours. If you pour them too thick, you know, like if I just sat and left this in the cup, it's going to start getting hot and curing too fast because it's thick. And this type of resin doesn't like to do that. It likes to have thin layers. So lots of thin layers if you need a lot of your colors. All right, so I have some left. I'm going to pour it into the colors I know I'm going to use more of. And then I have kind of a fun little project that I'm going to use my extra resin in. And I'll show you that at the end of the cup making here. It'll be a surprise at the end. The beach tumblers, you know, I love them, and they take time to make, but to me, that time is so worth the effort because they really come out so beautiful. I'm here in Florida, so I'm a little biased. I love the beach. Okay, I'm going to soak up this resin before because I'm dripping it. All right. Let's see what else I might need it in. Let's put it in a little of blue. Don't want to waste it. I definitely have more resin than I need, but I plan for that. And the other thing you can do is, you know those baking molds, the silicone baking molds? Because they're made out of silicone, you can use them for molds to pour the remainder, you know, your leftover resin into. And it's such a cool thing to do because you're going to end up with some leftovers when you're doing bigger projects or something like this when you have different colors. And and I hated to just throw it away and let it dry. So what I started to do was put it in those little molds. And okay, I put it in the little molds, and then when I do my shows, I made keychains out of them, and I gave those away as prizes for people that came to my booth. So they really, really liked the idea and got a kick out of them. So I had all different kinds of things, butterflies, seahorses, you know, just different molds. Anything I found that was cute, I just picked up. All right, so in the ocean, what I like to do, I think there's a little bit more in here. I like to start with a dark, like I said, and I'm going to pour these on, and then I'm going to blend them slightly so that they just graduate into each other, almost like an ombre would. Okay, so this one is my darkest, and so what I'm going to do, this teal, okay, I'm just going to start putting it on there. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, good. I had to clean up my my craft room a little bit. It's been just hectic trying to get everything done. And we just did a show not too long ago, so I had to get all that stuff put away. That's so much work. I don't even think people that attend these craft shows and art shows really understand or can appreciate the work that these folks do just to be there. You know, they got to set up their own tent, all the display stuff, it's all on them. And they have to have a helper or somebody with them, because it is definitely not a one-man tent setup or anything like that. Even though some of them claim they are, I can tell you they are not. They're like dealing with cooked spaghetti. You got to get them secure so the wind doesn't knock them down. All right, so that is the teal, and it looks really dark right now, but it will lighten. It will transcend into the next color pretty well. Okay, so I'm going to lay him there and put you there. Okay, I'm going to take the next color. Check your messages here. Yeah, 10% of your paint or your pigments or your mica powders, you know, anything that you're using to color the resin, Kayla, you want to make certain it's 10% to the 90% ratio of your resin, okay? It's a safety measure so that you're not putting in too much and your resin cures too quickly on you or can't cure correctly. Yeah, oh, did you, Lisa? Yeah, I think it's such a neat idea. I mean, why waste it, right? I didn't like to see those pretty colors and the expensive resin just go to waste. So it ended up being something that people liked and could use. Okay, so this is that pretty green. Now, you know, while the resin is doing this, you can see it kind of, you know, it'll start to thicken up a little bit. And if you want to make it a little looser or more flexible to move around, what you can do is use your heat gun. Okay, so a heat gun is different than a hair dryer. It definitely has more heat to it. It will burn you, and it will burn your resin if you're too close and stay on it too long. You want to move it around quickly, but what it does is it heats up your resin again, and it makes the viscosity more fluid. Okay, so it gives you a little bit more working time. Now, working time is a good point to bring up for those that aren't familiar too. When you do buy resin and you work with it, make sure you read their fact sheet that comes with it. They always send them because each company is different, and each of those fact sheets will tell you how much time do you have to work with the resin before it's supposed to cure, okay? Before it just gets too difficult to move around anymore. And some are longer, you know, some can take up to 30 minutes, like art resin. It takes longer to cure, so that could be a pro if you take longer to work with your art. If you don't need 30 minutes, it's kind of a pain. But this one is about 20, maybe 25 minutes if I'm lucky. So, you know, that's why you just have to have everything at your hands. You have to have everything ready to go. Go ahead and pour this guy on there. All right. Love these colors. I will pull the camera up here shortly and show you these colors. Just amazing. All right, let's put you on. Yeah. And some of your colors that you can use, you know, like mica powders, acrylic paints, you can use the fluid acrylic inks. You can use like the stuff that you get in airbrushes. You can use model car paint in epoxy. Just so many options, okay? And again, you just want to make sure you keep your ratio. And if you're not sure, message your resin company because they are going to be the ones that will have the right answer for you. You know, unless somebody else is using it, but that's my suggestion. And ask them if you can use whatever the product is in their resin. What I find is fun too when I'm working with these resin companies, I always send them a piece of some art that I've done with their resin because I'm telling them why I like it, why it helps me, and or I'll ask more specific questions or can they do something else, and they just love getting that. I think it helps them and their company grow, right? Because we're an audience that they're probably not as familiar with. That isn't who they made the resin for initially. Art resin is, but not a lot of these. Okay, so I'm going to put just a touch of this in this teal up here. A little darker than I like. Those will mix nice. Put it in the green. And you know, it's fun. I mean, oceans are neat. If you look at them, I've been out there diving. I've been all over the. I learned how to dive over in Japan, and I dove in Hawaii, and I grew up here in Florida, and along the East Coast, I've been a diver. I mean, it's just every time you look at the ocean, it's different, in my opinion. It depends on the weather. California's oceans are different. So when I look at color like that, I always kind of think about what I used to see on those kind of days and what am I trying to depict in the ocean, because it can turn kind of angry kind of quick if you get the wrong colors, I think, mixed in there. And if that's what you're going for, great. Okay, so I'm going to get these in here. I'm going to bring him down. Getting ready to put the beach on. It's probably a good thing I don't have a camera up on my face right now because I tend to make faces when I start getting into some of the detail. It's always hard to go back and look at your videos later. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to put the ocean sand and the beach area here. Probably should have mixed up a little more of the beach, but I think we'll be okay. See, it's getting a little stringy, so I'm right on that edge where it needs to probably get heated up just a touch to keep working with it. Okay. All right. Leave the white there for now because I got to get this all kind of mixed up. So what I'm going to do. All right, so that's just the layers right now of the colors. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do here now is blend it together a little better than this is. And then I'm going to apply some heat to it. And I'm just going from the top down, dark to light. Okay. Using a different finger. Get that mixed up there. Okay. All right. Let's switch gloves. Okay, so I'm going to put a little heat to this. So I'm going to have a little noise, so mute. This will help get some of those bubbles out, the air bubbles that start to pop up from the paint and the moving around and stuff. And it's going to help my colors blend a little better because I'm making them a little bit more fluid again by adding the heat. Okay, good for that. All right, so now let me get another glove on, see if I can get it back on this hand. What did you use for your color in the epoxy? Kathy, I used the Just Resin pigment paste, and I used some acrylic paints. I'll tell you, my hand gets sweaty and it won't go into the glove, so what I'm going to try to do here is just use the stick. Okay, so I have white paint. What I'm going to attempt to do on the cup while it's moving is make some waves. So cross your fingers. Let's see if this works for me on the cup. I do this in my paintings, but it's got a little bit more going on here than I'm used to. So we'll give this a try. Now this white is also a pigment paste. So it's made out of the resin part A and the pigment color. Okay. And these things last forever. I don't know how much, people use or do these with, but for me at least, they have lasted a long time because there's a lot in there and you're using a very little bit with this kind of work, especially on a tumbler. Okay. Get a little bit more. The waves up close are going to be a little bigger, so I'm just trying to put more in there. And then what I'm going to do is use the heat gun and push those waves down, make them look like waves. Okay. All right, here comes the gun again. So those kind of disappeared on me. Wondered about that. And I'm losing some resin. Ooh, he's going down on my table. Okay, I'm going to have to clean that up before it sticks. I did not put plastic under here like I usually do. Okay, hang on. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is why gloves help. Start getting this mess all over. Okay. Let me wash off this real quick and I'll take a look at your chats. If If you get it on something that you don't want it on when it's still like this, you can use rubbing alcohol. It will remove it and get it off of your skin, but that's assuming that you're okay with having rubbing alcohol on you. So it's still also a harsh chemical. Just try and get it off the table here so it doesn't harden to the table. Okay. All right. Now. Okay, got that all spilled up. Okay. Hi, Meg. What in particular are you looking for that I'm using? Right now I'm using moss resin, and I'm using the Just Resin pigment paste, and I am using just regular acrylic paints for the other colors on the lower half of the cup. Thank you. Yeah, when you tilt, it does change things for you. In this case, it definitely helped bring them out a little better. I'm going to try and see if I have enough white here to put on the very edge. And I just need a little, rubbing alcohol. Now the rubbing alcohol, keep in mind, you don't want water-based, okay, because that's not good with resin. So the rubbing alcohol I buy is 90%. So it's pretty strong stuff. But it helps you create cells and things like that in your resin. So I really like using it. This I'm going to heat again on the beach, and then I'm going to tilt it down so that the water and the foam hopefully run across the sand there. That's the intention. All right, let's see if it works. A little bit of heat. Okay. And you can see it starts to move. Let me bring it back down into your view. There we go. Okay. And if you want a different look, spray a little bit on there. Again, the alcohol, rubbing alcohol. This is 90%. Okay. That is all I'm going to do to that cup. All right. Take a break here for a second. And ironically, I did not end up with that much resin left over. Thank you. Yeah, everybody like that? I do love making beach cups. Okay, so for those that just joined late, these are the images that I'm going to put on that cup once they're done, once it's dry. So they're loggerhead turtles, which we have around here in Florida. Yeah, that one came out pretty good, if I do say so. I'm happy with that. Sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. If they don't, the nice thing about resin is this dries, and if I wasn't putting any more images on it, then it would be done. You don't have to put another layer on. But because I'm going to do a water slide, it will need another resin, clear coat of resin over the water slide. But if, let's say, I didn't like this after it dried, it just didn't work. Some of my experiments don't. It's so easy then to cover it up with another, choice of colors of resin or something like that. So it just gets thicker. You know, you have to remember you have a layer of resin on there. So how thick does this get, and will it still fit in your cup holders? So that's another lesson to figure out. Oh yeah, the bottle for, you mean the bottle for the resin? I bought this on Amazon. And if not that, then this is the bottle, just resin. Whoops, just resin, pigment paste. They're out of Australia. They will, when you go to their site, they ask you if you're from US or if you're, you know, from Australia or from Europe or something like that. They will, based on that, they determine the cost of shipping. Okay. Yeah, did you get it, Teresa? Okay, there you go. That's the just resin. Okay. At the tire site. Okay, Meg. Okay. Yeah, they have other choices, but I do like it. And yes, they're expensive, but I'm telling you, this jar, which is, see if they have 50 milliliters, will last me probably a couple years. I mean, you're not using more than just the tip of a popsicle stick as far as a tumbler goes. If you're making pieces of art, and I have some here for a couple of years now already that, like my white, I bought this going on 2 years, and I don't even think I've used that much of it. And I use it in almost every painting I do. So the price is heavy, but it does last. And like I said, if it starts getting, you know, kind of thick because it's been sitting or what have you, all you do is you stir it before you use it and get everything mixed together well. If it feels too thick or clumpy, right, if it starts to turn solid, put in part A only of your resin. So they give the instructions on that. They supply a little card that tells you how to handle that. Okay. I haven't had to do that yet. As long as your lids are sealed good, you shouldn't have too much problem. And being in Florida, you know, with the heat and everything, I've been kind of surprised that I haven't had to do that. My white, I've had to. It's a little thicker, and I think it's because of the way the bottle is. Yeah, you can see a painting. Let's see. Which one do I have out here? I'm trying to think where I am. So, all right, if you can hold on a second. I hate walking away from the video, but I will be right back. Kind of play music or chat with yourselves. I'll show you a painting. Okay, I'm back. All right. So this, thanks for your patience. This is, move that back here a little bit. Oh, the glare is kind of bad too. That's the downside with photographing resin. So this is a 10 by 10. Let's swing down the comments here. And this is all resin. This is some resin pigments and mica powders. And for the sky, I used a little bit of acrylic paint to get the orange. It does have a nice saturated color. You're right. This is another one I did more recently. This is, again, kind of hard to get it in there. This is resin for the background. Okay, so I created the painting, and then I came back with my water slides, images and stuff that I helped create, and created that scene. Kind of hard to see a lot of the color on this video. Okay, and this is on a 15-inch round. And then I've got some bigger ones that I've done. I just got done doing a coffee table, and I'm working on this one, which I haven't, it's still got another layer to do, but this is the 18-inch round. Kind of hard to get it in there. Underwater. Now, what's interesting is this one isn't done, so I haven't cleaned it up, but I want to show you the knobs, okay? And you can see how the resin, see that? But because I use Vaseline, they're falling right off as I touch them, see? They'll come right off. I just haven't cleaned it up because I know I have another layer to do. Thank you. No, these are wood. Wood panel was the 10 by 10, and then the other two you can see is wood rounds. I like the wood a lot more, especially with resin, because it's heavy. You can put resin on canvas, and I have, but it's very tricky because canvas will sink in the middle with this resin. So you have to be certain that when you're prepping your canvas before you put resin on it, that you have created a smooth, stable underside. You know, if you want to remove it later, great, but you want to make certain that it's a stable underside for that resin to harden equally across that canvas. Yeah, so what I do is, before I do any of my paintings on any of the canvas or the wood like this, I'll take my Vaseline and I'll rub it around the edges, okay? And people use tape, but going around a circle with tape is a real pain, and I don't feel like my time is worth spent doing that. B, not all tape, even the frog tape, works that well in terms of going around a circle, so it kind of causes another problem. And then you have to take it off before the resin hardens too much, or you end up with an edge problem. But so anyway, I found Vaseline works really well. Vaseline will not let the resin cure to it. It's like having silicone on there. So that is how I prep my boards. And then you just have to wipe off the Vaseline when you're done. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to show you, since I don't have any extra resin left, I didn't end up with what I thought I would let as leftovers for this, to show you the surprise. So I'm going to show you the surprise in a different way. I was playing today because I just got these things in the mail, and I just got resin on me again. Okay. Trying to clean up as I go. It's kind of like cooking. It's easier this way. All right. So I'm going to take the camera and take you around real quick. I'm not going to be able to see my screen, so I want to just show you this work real fast. So hang on. Going for a flight. Okay, so I got, actually I need to see my screen. All right, so I got these phone pops, I think they're called, right? So you stick them on the phone, and then you have that piece right there that's showed, and they snap, okay? So this is new to me. My sister had it, my niece had it. I mean, I guess it's all the rage to hold their phones. So I thought, okay, well, let me try those. So I picked up about 20 of these to play with and see how they work. So today I played with it with my flow paint, and let me see if I can show you. gonna have to stand back here so I can show you. Okay, so I flow painted, that's a cigar box. And then you can see the knobs here. So let me get, there you go. Yeah, so I dipped those. That's all acrylic paint. That's a flow painting. Okay, so now I've got to wait for those to dry and see. What I'll need to do is let them dry and then stabilize them, or seal them, you know, with a clear sealer to keep them stable. And hopefully they'll be hardy enough for people handling them like that. Did I say a no word, Shannon? Oh, hey, Bev. Well, at least you got caught up on orders. That's awesome. I'll save the video so you'll be able to go back and play it. Okay. So any questions at that point? Yeah, phone thingies. Yeah, okay. I know somebody said that they were posting, I think, on Etsy or something, and they used some of those tags. They didn't even say it themselves. They just used the tags, and they got their ad got taken down or something. Yeah, those little phone thingamajiggies. It's amazing how popular they are. I'm just shocked. Everywhere I go now, I see them. Yeah, Brandy. Thank you, Shannon. Okay. Yeah. So, hi, Ashley. Yeah. So I used Moss resin. Okay, MAS, and I used just resin. Ooh, just resin pigment paste, and I used some acrylic paints. Okay, just regular from Michael's acrylic paints to create what you're seeing right now. Now, also, what I didn't tell everybody, and shame on me because a lot of you are new, the cup prior to starting it, let me show you that real fast too. So prior to starting, I had a white cup. You saw that on the tumbler already, right? The turner. Well, it wasn't natively white. These cups I get from Walmart. They're the built cups. They really work, by the way. I use them all the time myself, and I'm impressed how well they hold the cold and stuff. But anyway, they come in all different colors. It's hard to find just the stainless steel in the 30 ounce. And so to prep them before I use them, I just use a regular spray paint, like Rust-Oleum or something like that. And I go out and I spray them to cover the 30 ounces, I think, were a mint green. And I can get the 20 ounces in the stainless steel, so that wasn't a color. But it just helps to make certain that those colors aren't going to come through my design, because that has happened before when I didn't do a nice enough prime to it. So I should have told you that before I got started. I'm fired. Yeah, I just dipped the phone dealies in the acrylic paint. So I had, after doing that cigar box, I had puddles, right, from that end up on the bottom, and I just took the phone thingies, and I just went straight down onto the paint and straight back up, and then turn them over to let them dry. So they'll probably have to dry, I would say, at least a good 2 days, because there's paint on them in the center. I didn't tilt them or anything. How do I flow on things? You know, I can do another video on that too, because I noticed a lot of people are starting to do their flow art as well on the tumblers. I've done a couple. I do like it, and there's different techniques to use. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking your acrylic paint, okay, and you want to get a nicer brand of acrylic paints. Some of the craft paints, if you're starting out, that's fine. But some of the craft paints don't hold up as far as the color as well, you'll find. But these aren't that much more expensive. I mean, I get them at Michael's, and I always use my 40% coupon. And especially if they go on sale, I grab them. But anyway, you use your paint and you pour it into your cup, okay? And then I use something from the hardware store called Floetrol, Floetrol, okay? And my hardware store finally asked me one day, it's over at Lowe's, and they were like, what is going on with the Floetrol? We're having a hard time keeping it in stock all of a sudden. Well, the funny thing is, everybody that got into the flow painting started getting into the Floetrol, okay? The Floetrol is actually created to mix with acrylic paints. So like if you're airbrushing, or not airbrushing, but using a paint sprayer in your house to paint your house, you want to have that paint thin enough to go through the sprayer, so they created things like the Floetrol to help you thin out your paint safely. Water will thin it out, but you have to remember water is the enemy of paint, right? It's going to break it down, not just thin it out. So you have to be very, very careful how much water you use, or you can cause it to actually break down. So basically there's formulas. Everybody's got their formula, what works for them, what didn't work for them, that kind of thing. I followed, when I started doing flow painting, I followed Anne Ruddlehoff, I think is her last name, on YouTube. And I could probably put this up so you can see me now. But she, I think it's R-O-D-D, Anne Marie Ruddlehoff. Okay, she's on YouTube. I advise anybody getting into flow painting to start looking at her YouTubes. And I'll tell you, because she's one of these people that just out of the kindness of her heart shares her craft. She sells her art, but she goes out there and she experiments all the time with paints and the mix and the recipes, getting cells, using silicone, and she'll do little tiny paintings to show the differences of these recipes. So if you go and look at her YouTubes, you'll see what I mean. She's very giving about how she does this stuff, and it saves you from having to waste your time if you don't like it or if it didn't work. Yeah, Floetrol, that's right, Brandy. And I use that. So there's a recipe out there where you can use the acrylic paint. You use your Floetrol about, you've got your paint in there, and you can use maybe 10, 15%, maybe up to 20 of your Floetrol. And you want to mix that in there. Basically, what I look for is a mix for the paint that when you pull it up on the popsicle sticks and it's dropping back into the cup, that it's dissolving right into the paint. In other words, you don't see the ring of the paint drop and it stays there, right? That means it's too thick. So I can do a video of doing that and pouring it on a cup. I think that would be a fun one. Yeah, I'm going to use, Bev, I'm going to use, there's a spray out there for engine enamel. There's a clear spray, and it's got a high heat temperature and everything. I like that, but it's very hardy, so I'm probably going to use that. For the resin cup to dry, this resin, it will be set up, just tacky, probably in 3 hours of doing this. So I can turn the turner off at that point. It's not going to drip. If I turned it off right now, it's all going to run to the bottom, and I'll have those teardrops at the bottom. That's not good. But by tomorrow, it's going to be completely cured. It will be cured tomorrow, about 8 hours, 10 hours, somewhere in there. But complete hardness and cure is a different thing. That really is about a week, for resin to really get to its complete hard state. But each fact sheet will tell you how long for their resin brand. Yeah, so it takes a little time to work with these, but I just love it. I love seeing all and the funny thing is, if somebody asked me for another cup, a beach cup, they all look different. I mean, as you can see, I can use the same paints, the same colors each and every time, and I have, but the mix, the way I mix them, or the amount I mix, or the amount I end up here, and how they work together always ends up different. So no one is ever the same, right? I mean, they can look similar, but they're not going to be exactly the same. So that also is fun. I think that's why I like doing these, because they're always different. Okay, I was going to do, I'm trying to decide. I was going to do a second cup for you all. Are you interested in seeing a second cup? And if so, what medium are you looking for? I've got alcohol inks. I think I could do that in a fairly reasonable timeline. I could, I don't really have the ability to lay out the paint right now. To do a flow paint, that would have to, I'd have to have plastic down. I don't have that right now. Okay, yeah. Do you want me to do alcohol inks in those? Okay, cool. I am in a selfish need here. I'm going to show you. Let's see, I got to switch around. Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to talk while I'm doing this, but I'm going to switch around the paint and everything so that I can use the other turner. Alrighty. Do it without tipping everything over. This is usually where something spills. Why are you coming with me? Okay. There we go. Okay. Keep them off the resin. We're all good there. Don't need my laptop covered in resin. All right, that way I can see you there. Okay. All right, just moving the cup turner over. Okay, let me get the camera over there. See if that'll work. Hey, that's cool. Just attached it to my laptop. Aren't I clever? Okay. All right, let's do this. So, what I was going to tell you. Okay. All right. Let me grab my pictures. I'll show you what I want to do. Okay. So I want to make a cup for myself, and I'm a big movie fan. I mean, I go to movies all the time. That's kind of my time. And I think the movie theater people probably think I'm nuts. I go there by myself all the time. So anyway, because of that, I thought it'd be fun to do a smaller, the 20-ounce cup, because I could slip it in my purse. And I went out and found images, created these images. Aren't they cute? The little dancing guys. And that reminds me, I'm going to date myself, but that reminds me of the drive-in. So that was fun. And then, of course, Jaws was one of my favorites when it came out. And Star Wars, I'm a big fan there. And so I'm going to put these logos on my tumbler. So I was thinking today, what colors should I do? Let me put this down so you can see the cup. Okay. So I was thinking today, what color should I do? And what do you guys think of black and white with that? Try to keep you straight here. Sorry about that. Might have to just move you over. I don't know how stable that is. One more move. Hang on. That way. There we go. Okay. So what do you think about a black and white cup for those images? Do you think that would be a good color? It'd be probably a good base behind it. I was thinking do like a black and white swirl with those images. I know, aren't they cute? I'm a dork, but I like it. Okay. All right. So I've got the resin. Okay. So I already showed you the resin. It is the MAS brand. I get it on Amazon. Okay. And then I'm going to use alcohol inks. So I'm going to have to step away again to grab some alcohol inks because I wasn't expecting it. So I'm sorry I didn't have that at the table. So give me a quick second. I know, I love the drive-ins. I'm so sad that they kind of mostly all failed. Yeah, Teresa, we probably are. It's funny. I took my daughter when she was younger to some of the drive-ins that were still around up in Minnesota, and gave her that experience at least before they. I think there's one left up there. I don't know that there's any around here. I have to look. But I loved it. I mean, what was more fun than sitting in your car with friends and watching it outside under the stars? And you always got more than one movie. That was an awesome deal. All right. Okay, so I'm going to bring my drawer over here, and I'm going to look for, I know I have black. So, has anybody on here used alcohol inks yet? Just to get an idea of what you're familiar with. Put this over here. Yeah, I'm 53, Teresa. So, yep, we're in the same group. Oh, Joy, you're lucky. Yeah, I got to look around at this. I moved here a year ago from the central part of the state, so now I'm over here by Daytona Beach. I love it. But I got to see if there's anything over here. Okay, so, okay, Dawn, so you haven't used alcohol inks yet. That's fine. Okay, so there's two brands. Some people make their own, but I just don't have that time or patience or what have you. They're, you know, these last a while. They're not that expensive, so I don't mind buying them. Hey, so we're a whole group of 50s. That's awesome. You make yours? Well, Akela, I give you credit because I tell you, I just don't have the patience. I think I'd frustrate myself. It's too much. So anyway, I've got alcohol ink by Tim Holtz. You know, that's one of the brands I use. You can get these at Michael's with their coupon again. Okay, there we go. You can get these online at Amazon. This was a fairly new one I just started using. I just used it on that Tumbler, and I'll show you again. Cure Color ink. And you get quite a bit more, 25 milliliters, you know, than you get with the Tim Holtz, and you get a lot of color choices. So I will put the link in there for you at the end of on the chats. Well, I tell you, you and Niren, you guys, more power to you. I think that's pretty cool that you can make them. I just don't have the patience, and I'm afraid that all that you know, preparation in the jars and everything would just, I'd end up with a problem. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm afraid of, Melissa, too, is I'd go to all that work and then it wouldn't work right and I've messed up my art piece. So I get worried when I start looking at stuff like that. Okay, so I gotta find them. I know I have a black. Okay, so I have a black in the Tim Holtz. I think he calls it, what does he call it? Honestly, these bottles are so little. I have pitch black. Yeah, there's the color. Okay, grab it. There you go. Okay, so that's a Tim Holtz, and and then I've got my Pinata white. Pinata. Okay. So that's another brand. Hello. Come on, focus. Focus. There we go. Pinata. Blanco. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get the resin put in here. We'll get that mixed. Yeah, so black and white kind of came to mind because, of course, the film. And I started out as a graphic artist as well because I really like color and printing and that whole thing. And I was I still photograph a lot, but I don't get out as much as I used to. I got to grab a paper towel. All right. Yeah, he did have a black. I think I've now got probably all of theirs that I've seen anyway. Yeah, this is the rubber plumbing part. I don't remember what they call it. It's in the plumbing section, and I like it. It works with my 20 ounce. It's not perfect, but it holds it nice. I haven't had a problem with those, and it's great with the 30 ounce. It goes right inside the cup. Thank you. Yeah, Joy, the craft room is actually my double garage. When we moved, I moved in. I had my parents move in with me, and my mom's a quilter, so half the room is all the quilting machines and her stuff, and the other half is my art room. So it kind of, it's all colorful, but we painted it and we put carpet and all that down, and then we insulated or bought an insulated garage door, and of course added air conditioning. So I really like it out here. And then I made our craft tables. Okay, so I got the resin. Let me get this turned on. See if I can get it going in the right direction. If you can't find it in the stores, Angela, you know, you can try Amazon. I get a lot of my stuff on Amazon if Michael's doesn't have it. Okay, so I'm just going to get the resin put on here. That's the neat part about, I better move my mouse. That's the neat part about alcohol inks. You don't have to, you can mix them into the resin if you'd rather have like a pigment to pour onto something in that color. So you can certainly mix the alcohol into the resin and color it that way. I need to make sure I have this on here. Yeah, I was surprised to find a black alcohol ink myself. In the past, something like this, I would have just used acrylic paint or something like that to create that same look. But I like the alcohol inks because they're lighter and they seem to float, you know, and they just kind of look better in a resin, I think, sometimes for that application. Okay, let me get this on here. Can't check your chats here, so hang on. Well, hopefully everybody's approach to the holidays is going well. Okay, we get the resin on there. All right, so I can throw the glove away. Let me grab my heat gun. I will be right back. Okay, I'm going to use this real quick just to get the bubbles out. Now remember, when you're using a heat appliance, whether it be a torch or a hairdryer could do it too, or in this case a heat gun, move it quickly. Don't leave it linger over your resin because it will torch it, it will burn it, and then what will happen is it'll dry scalded in that spot. So you don't want to do that. If it happens when it's still liquid and you can scrape that piece off and keep moving along, you're good. But sometimes it usually happens at the end. Okay, so I got the bubbles out. All right, and then remember that thing gets really, really hot because I burned myself a mistake reaching across it. Okay, so hi Lisa. Yeah, so I was mentioning earlier, all of your resins are different in their nature. Just depends on the brand of resin that you're using. I can tell you, I've probably used, over my time of using resin over the last 5 years, I probably have used up to maybe 10 brands of resin, Pro Marine, all kinds of stuff. And aluminite, you know, they say they're FDA compliant. Now, I want to keep in mind, or keep you in mind, that when they say FDA, they're meaning compliant. They're not approved. Okay, nobody is approved. There's a different process that would have to go through that to get an approval. Okay, the compliant means that once the resin is hardened at its hardest state, okay, so you have to look at your fact sheet and see how long that is for that brand. For this brand, I want to say it was 7 days. Then it is safe to have it around food, okay? Preparation, but not like cutting on it, a cutting board, things like that. You don't want to this is for countertop, so they are designed for that. Or bar tops, you know, things like that is what I've used primarily when it comes to things with the cups. But for my artwork, I've used Pro Marine and things, and that's not anywhere near the expectation to be compliant. So again, if you're in doubt with the brand that you're going to use or that you've purchased, my suggestion is reach out to the support of that company and ask them those questions if they're not specifically already in your fact sheet that you received, okay? Because even though we're on these groups and we talk to everybody, you know, that's secondhand knowledge or even further down that chain. So my suggestion for you, if it's important, is that you ask the resin company themselves. They're not, well, yeah, they say approved, and I can tell you they're not. If you go look up the difference between approved and compliant, you will see that that is not possible. I've had several companies, and I've even emailed Illuminite. That isn't the language they used. So I just recommend that you go double check that. Yeah, MAS. And I got it on Amazon. And like I said, it's countertop. You can't cook in a kitchen without having a countertop. And, you know, so a lot of that stuff is around your food. It's compliant. Yeah, Amazon. They're out of St. Paul, and they just started selling on Amazon, I want to say about 6 months ago. That's when I found them. And I've been very pleased with them. It dries crystal clear. The odor is almost null. You know, you notice it in the bottle, as with most of them, but this one doesn't chase you out of the room like some will. And I haven't had any issues with this at all. Okay, so I'm going to apply the black. Now, when you do this, you want to be careful because black will really take over. Your darker colors and the alcohol inks will definitely take over. So I'm just going to drop a couple of drops of black on. Put a little drop in here on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to let that kind of do its little thing there for a second. Ooh, my alcohol has dried on the lid. Okay, I'm going to grab my heat gun. And because I'm using a dark color, I want to go ahead and get it to move around the cup a little bit first before I add my white, or you'll end up with more gray than you have black. I love how it's kind of spidering out. Okay, let's set you down right behind me. Get to you easier. Oh, I need my alcohol. I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol on it. Again, 90% alcohol. You don't want the water-based ones. Anything under 90%, you're risking how it interacts with your resin. And that's probably not smart either. Spray alcohol in it. That could be a whole different show. Okay. Now the cup is white. So what I'm hoping this will do is where it touches the black, it'll turn just slightly gray, and the rest will kind of start to blend. This is kind of an experiment. I have not done this kind of thing before on the black color. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And get the lip of the cup more black than anything. Now, what's interesting is in the black pigment, there's a little bit of a hint of green. You can kind of see it as it spreads out real thin. Now, when you're adding alcohol to resin, just like with your pigments, you need to be careful how much you're adding because it can affect negatively, I'll say, your cure. Will it stay too soft? In which case you've added probably too much alcohol. Okay, so again, it's a balance. Okay, so now I'm going to add some more heat to it. I usually have my safety gear on, but because I'm doing a video, I don't. But this is where it can be the most dangerous, in my opinion, is the heat, putting your fumes up. Okay, that's looking pretty cool, but you can see the green in the hue, but that's okay. It'll work with my movie thing. That's really a neat look. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Becky. Well, thanks for coming. Yeah, I don't know about you guys and the sleep factor, but my business online, I'm hoping will pick up more than what I've been doing. I'm trying to now get more business online than I've been doing locally with the shows. The shows are so hard to do, so physically and emotionally and everything, it's very draining. So I'd much rather do a few shows a year and more sales online. So I'm trying to build my business. So what I've done is I've taken my page and I created a group off the page as well. So you can look that up. And if any of you want to join, feel free. It's an open group as far as I'm concerned. Anything to do with art, anything to do with, any helpful tips and tools of the trade. I'm not, as long as we're all respectful, I don't care that you want to advertise or market your own business. That's fine with me too. So, we're all in this and we're all trying to make a living. Yeah, so let me, yeah, you've got a nice view there. Let me move this up a little bit. And then, like I did with the beach one, so it looks like he's kind of starting to puddle a little there. Let me grab a tile. I didn't make sure that was level before I got started. So what's happening is, I think, you can see at the end here, it looks like it's kind of moving this way too much. So I just raised it up, help level it back down there. Yeah, I like it. What do you guys think? Let me bring you a little closer. You can see that color. Down. There you go. Yeah. So for those that just joined, didn't see, I'm going to add, this is my movie cup. It's my personal one. And so I'm going to add the images I found. I've got 3 more of these little dancing guys that'll go around the bottom. And then I might have to reprint those to make them a little smaller for the 20 ounce. Initially, I thought I'd do 30 ounce, but I can't sneak that in my purse. Yes, I said that. For what they want for drinks nowadays, even water, it's criminal. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I hope you do. Feel free to go back, and if you have questions, I'll be putting some of the links of the products I used in the comments at the end here shortly. So for the next live, since you're all here, what would you like to see? I know we talked about flow art, so I can do a flow art cup. That's fine. I can just show you how to mix the paints and pour it on a cup. Anything else that has any interest? Thank you, Melissa. No problem, Sharon. No, I don't hand cut those, Shannon. Again, I'm lazy. I have the Cricut, and let me show you. I've got the Cricut and the Silhouette right there. Now, it's been my promise to myself to learn the Silhouette. I got it, and I haven't spent the time I should to learn how to use that as much. So I've used it on a very basic level. I use my Cricut all the time, though. So it's a print and cut. No, these aren't micas. This one on this cup is alcohol inks, Nerian, or you want to see mica? You want to see something with mica? Is that what you mean? Okay. Hey, Sherry. No, the beach cup. We did the beach cup in the beginning. Let me show you. Take you back over here real quick. Ooh, take a flight. Okay, there's your beach cup. Ooh, go that way. So we did that as the first cup, and I figured we had time, so we did a second cup. And we used alcohol inks on that. Whoop. Colored wood grain, yeah, that's the pour. I could show you how to do that. And basically, the technique for that is what they call a tree ring. Okay, so I'll show you how to do the pour and do a tree ring, so it comes out in the so you have all those nice. It looks like wood grain. And actually, we could use micas to do the same technique. So it doesn't have to be acrylic pour. It can actually, you can do the same thing with resin pours. You can do dirty pours with resin. So I can show you that. All epoxies, Debbie, will yellow over time. All epoxies will. It takes, you have to protect them from the UV. And there are some epoxy resins that are specifically made for outside, like Pro Marine and things like that, and it takes them longer to do it, but they will eventually all yellow. So you just have to tell your customers, and part of their care, to keep it out of the direct sunlight, out of heat from the car, and extreme cold in the car, that kind of thing, because epoxy is brittle when it gets cold. And when it gets hot in the car, it gets 170 something degrees, right? So that's not a good mix. Plus, that means it's being exposed to the sun. There are sprays you can buy, and I'll show you this one. It's a resin spray. Oh, there. Okay. And it is specifically for your artwork. It helps protect against some UV damage, things like that. It just kind of gives it a little bit more protection than your just a flat out resin. Okay. So I, as an example, made a tumbler for my lawn guy, and because I know if he uses it, if he likes it, he's going to be out in the sun. So I sprayed it several times with this, just to help protect it a little longer. Yeah, Teresa, they do. I mean, if you go and talk to any of your resin companies, they will tell you it will yellow over time. No, the Beach Cup, Deanna, I used Just Resin. It's called Just Resin, spelled together, pigment paste, and I used some alcohol or some acrylic paints. That's all I used on that. Now the Just Resin is actually a resin paste, so it's made out of part A of your resin, pretty much, and a pigment mixed in there. It has some acrylic in it, Beth. The sand area and the light blue I used as acrylic. The rest of it is the Just Resin colors. Thank you, Kylie. Is it Kylie? Am I saying that right? Or Kayla? Yeah. So mica powders, I can do that in the next one, and I can show you the tree ring pour so that you can get the look of wood on your cup. And maybe what we could do is 2 cups. We'll do one with the acrylic pour to show you that, and I can show you the same technique done in using mica powders and resin, so you can see how they look. My page name is Jean Blackwell. So if you go out to search Jean Blackwell, you should see Blackwell Art Corner is my page name. And then I created a group as well on my page. Y'all are gonna laugh, but I have. Let me grab it real quick. So if you go to Blackwell Art Corner, that's my page. And then under there is my group, and it is called Tumblers and Resin Art Group. I just forget the order in which I had that. So it's starting up. We've got a nice little following right now, a lot of new people. And like I said, the ones that are involved in art, I have no problem. If you want to share your work page, you know, do lives in the show, in the group, that kind of thing. Anything to help expand knowledge for everyone and share what we're doing. I'm happy with that. You're very welcome, Brandy. Tumblers and Resin Art Group is my name of the group. And Blackwell Art Corner is my page. Thank you, Kim. Well, hopefully everybody has a nice rest of their weekend, and I really appreciate your time tonight. This was fun, and it's always a learning process like this alcohol combination. You would think, I got to show you a close-up, you would think I had more than just black and white in there. Look at the colors that have come out on that pigment. Let's see if it'll show. There we go. So you got the gray, of course. I knew that would happen. It would sink into the white a little bit. But you can see some of that green tint in the black. So that's kind of cool. Great. I'm glad you like it. Mariali? I hope I'm saying that right. Sorry if I slaughtered it. Thank you, Narian. Okay, yeah, go back and start the video. I will save it, and you'll be able to go back and watch it. And then I'll come back probably tomorrow and add in the comments the products that I'm using if you didn't catch the information on the video. Okay, and like I said, send me some messages, any ideas of things you're interested in learning or you can't find information about. I'm happy to help. That's how we all learn. And for those that came in late too, I was going to show you. We did the phone. I did these earlier. So I did this is flow paint. It's still wet. And I painted cigar box here, and so what dripped down at the bottom, I dipped these in. So I still have to seal them when they dry, but that was kind of a fun project. There's the lid. So I did that this afternoon. All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Be safe out there. It's crazy drivers. Okay.